Hello world, my name is James Needham again. I did one video already and now I'm going to do another video about the debate that we all got to watch on Monday night. It's pretty hilarious. It was like a couple of 13-year-old girls fighting. But I'm going to pretend that somebody was asking me the same questions and I'll give you the answers that I would have given. To start off with, the first question is how would you bring jobs back to America to achieve prosperity? Well, Trump's answer was to just give more tax breaks to the wealthy, which, just like Hillary did say, and we all know that doesn't work. But then Hillary's, answer was, basically tax the wealthy. Well, it's a lot more complicated than just taxes. First of all, no matter how much you tax the wealthy, there's always the loopholes, obviously, that Donald Trump has exploited very well to where they end up paying no taxes if or very little at all. And he openly admitted that also during the debate that made him smart by screwing over America. Some of the first things that I would do to bring jobs back to America is, Trump was right about taxing people that decide to leave this country. If you want to leave this country, instead of getting free taxes to come back into this country with your products, throw something stupid on it, like 75% tax. Make it so insanely ridiculous that they won't even think twice about leaving this country. Another thing I'd also do is I would stop the extreme abuse of lawsuits. And what I mean by that is if you can't walk and you trip and fall on the job, you should not be able to sue the company for millions of dollars. It isn't the company's fault that you can't walk down a flight of stairs. If you're feeding a machine at a factory some material and you're just not paying attention because you're talking to your buddy or you're trying to play on your phone at the same time and it drags your hand in and shreds your hand up, you shouldn't be able to sue the company for millions of dollars. It's not their fault. Now, on the flip side, if they knowingly are doing things that are putting you at risk, now that's a different story. But so many times in so many places, people just be like, I want to take off for a week. Oh, I hurt my back. And they'll go to the chiropractor and, they'll get it, a couple of $1,000s from workers' comp or whatever. We got to stop that. Plain and simple. Which is another reason why we need to work on the lawyer situation as well. That's the first thing they want to do is you get in a car wreck or you get hurt on the job or a doctor does something wrong and lawyers get involved and now the lawsuit is worth millions of dollars. It's not the company's fault. So therefore that's another reason why no one mentioned that they're moving to other countries is because in other countries they don't have that ability to sue and make millions of dollars because they were walking down the stairs talking to their friend and fell. That's not the company's fault. Be more, pay more attention to what you're doing. You could have done the same thing at your own home and you would sue nobody. Another thing I would do to start bringing more prosperity is I would place restrictions on corporations as far as how they pay their people. No more corporations allowed to, give their executives big $1 million bonuses and then file bankruptcy and the people suffer. No more, big companies making millions of dollars a year for the executives and CEO while their people at the bottom are on poverty wages. I would make it a mandatory, by law, percentage basis. And everybody then after that gets based upon a bonus structure of profit sharing, for example. And what I mean by that is if you have a corporation that is so certain size, you're only allowed in each position in the executive level to make so much money, a certain percentage of the business, where the rest of the profits actually go to the people as guaranteed salaries. Anything above and beyond that will be broken down in a percentage basis as far as bonuses. That way, everyone, like Clinton suggested, gets a part of the profits of a company that is doing well, not just the executives. Now, I have many more on that, but people aren't liking really long videos unless you're a famous person. They won't watch it. They'd rather watch Justin Bieber or Kardashians doing ass implants, and they'll watch all that stuff, but they won't watch anything important. The next question is would you increase or decrease the taxes on the wealthy? Well, corporations are supposed to be a publicly traded company, not privately. Many business owners incorporate so that way they lower their liability. If something was to happen, they can't be sued, and it protects them and their assets and takes all the responsibility onto the company. So therefore, if they are a publicly traded company, then they should be taxed a fair share because they are for the public. And what I mean that is Halliburton, GE, companies like that pay little to no taxes, no more. They are a publicly traded company. Taxes need to be increased. The executives and shareholders and CEO doesn't mean that they're going to continue to make the same types of money that they're making because then we just raise the prices on their goods or services. That's not going to happen anymore. A private company who pays a large portion of the taxes, they will be lower as long as they can show where they are doing things for their community. A lot more things will be tax write-offs, even if it is a type of investment, as long as they're investing in their communities. Trump, he was talking about, cutting the taxes for the wealthy. Well, a business is not a whole lot different than construction, really. It's you build it, you do things to it, make it look pretty, etc., etc., etc. Well, everyone in construction knows that you can't build from the top down. When you build from the top down, it crumbles. You have to have a strong foundation. And the stronger your foundation is, the higher and bigger you can build. So, no, I don't think that decreasing the taxes for the wealthy is the answer. In fact, just because they're wealthy doesn't mean that they owe less. It actually means that they should have more responsibility. If you have the brains, since Trump likes to say he's super smart, then that doesn't mean that you should just get to have all the money and not ever have to do anything, while the people that, as Trump likes to say, are dumb, do all the work. In fact, if you are that smart, then you should have more responsibility to your community and to your country to do more. So therefore, I would raise taxes on the wealthy. The next question is how do you heal the divide between the races? Well, first of all, no more private prisons, just like Hillary said. When you have a vested interest to where your retirement money increases for the more people that you put in a prison, which if anybody's ever been to prison, that is the cruel and unusual punishment. Horrendously cruel and unusual punishment. And what I mean by that is it wasn't too long ago that there was a kid, and I believe it was Singapore, that was doing some graffiti. And they caned him. Well, there was an uproar here in America. Cruel and unusual punishment. Well, let me ask you this. He got caned, and I'm sure it probably took a couple of weeks, maybe a month for him to heal. He was probably pretty damn sore. But he healed. Now, here in America, you take that same kid, and you throw him in jail for 6 months. Well, now he goes to jail and is treated like an animal. The guards are torturous. The other inmates are torturous. Mass beatings, mass rapes. Now, imagine what type of trauma and damage that has done to that young man mentally. How long, if ever, does he heal from that? You tell me what's more cruel and unusual punishment. Something that you can heal from, and yes, it might cause some bad physical pain for a month or two. Or the physical and mental pain from rapes, beatings, shankings, and the cruel and unusual punishment by the guards. If you've never been there, watch the new reality show that they have out on TV where people go spend 30 days in jail and prison, and you'll see what it's really like. I'm not saying we're going to start caning people, but I'm saying we got to come up with something different than prisons. And people's money shouldn't grow by the number of people that they increase prisons by. No more private prisons. And if you got your money in prisons, either get it out now or you lose it. And I would also end the war on drugs. And, I'm going to say some things here now that no one really wants to talk about. And what I mean by that is we didn't have a drug epidemic here in America until around the 60s and 70s. And really not even in the 60s. It was after that. It was more like the 70s when the drug epidemics really started. And in the 80s is when it really blew out of proportion. Now, if you go back just right before that, you will notice that our government, secret programs and stuff that now we make movies out of, it's got Jeff Bridges in it, The Men Who Stare at Goats, where our government was experimenting with LSD and PCP and all these other different psychedelic drugs. And that was back during the 60s and stuff. Then, during one of the most hideous, insane, pointless wars, Vietnam, not only did they make it legal age of 18 at that time too, they slipped it through, but no one really asked the question, what was our military and CIA, when I say military, Black Ops, doing in South America? It wasn't until after that that we started having the rise of drug epidemics in America. Of course, that's all after the, reefer madness about marijuana didn't really work too well. So then they started using other drugs. And then in the 80s, you start getting the big pharmaceutical companies involved, and now you have a major epidemic with Xanax and pain pills and things like that as well. So you do the math and see where the billions and billions of dollars go. It's amazing how, people want to throw so much attention to, these drug mules that are got some backpacks on coming across the Mexican border, or they talk about how they hide some drugs in their body and they swallow it and they come across the border. Here in America, we have a public education system. They teach you arithmetic, simple math. They teach you logic. Use your brains. How many people do you really think that it would take on a yearly basis to swallow? How many animals would it take for them to implant drugs into to get billions of dollars a month across that border? There aren't that many people coming across. So how else are they getting that much drugs across? They can bust a few Hispanic guys that are swallowed some drugs. How many truckloads of drugs do you really think have to come across the U.S. border in a month to equal billions of dollars that they don't catch? How do you think they don't catch them? You do the math. You went to school. So I would end the war on drugs. It hasn't gotten any better. All it's done is caused more of a divide between us. It's caused cops to, their numbers to need to be increased. They run around in their police cars all day long being bored, and they just can't wait till they got something to do and go bust somebody that might have a joint on them, which then causes more violence, more hatred, more divide between the people and police. And it's not getting anywhere. So if you want to go out and get methed out of your mind, if you want to go do a bunch of crazy drugs and destroy your own body, that's your own right. Go for it. The only thing that makes these people do stupid stuff is it's criminal charges. If it was legal and the cops was to walk up to you and be like, hey, okay, you got some marijuana and a little bit of crack on you, and it was legal, they'd be like, yep, sure, no problem. And you can laugh at them, call them an idiot, because they're going to do some stupid shit. But they're not going to pull a gun on you and try to shoot you and run. Only because it's illegal does that shit happen. And once again, pardon my language. Sorry. Moving on, my daughter's telling me. So, and neither of them had any solutions to the problems. In fact, if you notice, they didn't even want to talk about the racial problem. In fact, what they did is they quickly changed the subject to Obama's birth country. If you really watched it, neither one of them gave any solutions or anything about that. All they really wanted to talk about is where Obama was really born. Now my daughter's telling me one of my wings is sticking out. Sorry. And, and that's because they didn't have any answers, any solutions whatsoever. Another problem a thing I would do is I would start bringing businesses into the ghettos, the low-income areas of the inner cities. Bring businesses in, give them a job. When the highest paying job that someone from the inner city can get is standing on the corner slinging dime bags instead of having a regular job, then that's a problem. And in fact, as they move up the chain, as they grow, I ain't worried about it. As they move up the chain from the street corner, their paycheck increases. So bring jobs into those places. People talk about how they, want to go to other countries because of the simple fact that they can save money and pay people less. Move to some of these inner cities and give them huge tax breaks, major tax breaks. And in conjunction with the laws that they can no longer sue you for a few $1,000,000 because they fell down the stairs while they were talking on their phone instead of paying attention to where they're walking, companies would move there. And as people start to make money and realize that they can actually have a legitimate legal job that's not going to, destroy their body, rot their teeth out, make them do stupid shit, put them in prison, more people would get regular jobs. But there just aren't any. So I would bring businesses there, for sure. And I would have special programs, that started taking homes that have sat unoccupied since the housing crisis, and I would give special programs to move inner city people, families, out into these communities. Another thing I would do is I would make it mandatory to where schools have even money from the governments and special programs. And what I mean is just go look at the football field at one of these inner city ghetto schools, and then go to look at the football field at a nice wealthy school. Tell me what the difference is there. It wasn't too long ago that my kids went to a ghetto school in Fort Smith, Arkansas, on the north side of town. And they'd also been to the wealthier schools on the south side. At the south side, when you walk into the office, they have their own desk, they have brand new computers, and they have all this nice stuff everywhere. It's pretty and everything. But when I walked into the office at that ghetto school, they had one bare bar there, and they had a laptop that they had to share. They had cables running all across there to keep it all hooked up. And I asked the lady, I was like, what is this? And she said, we just don't get the funding that the other schools get. Well, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Are they not the ones that need the most help, not the wealthy kids? We need to start investing in them, because the wealthy kids already have the things they need. So yeah, I would do a lot of changes on it. I have plenty more on that, but my daughter's telling me to move on. The next question is who is behind cyber warfare, and what would you do to fix it? Well, of course, Trump automatically switched the subject to ICE and how ICE is, finally supporting him. But, well, if you look at it from a business plan standpoint of view, of course, immigration control enforcement, their jobs would disappear if there was no border. Well, of course they're going to support Trump, because all he wants to do is build a wall and increase their numbers. And when you increase their numbers, the people that run different groups and, districts and things like that, they get paid more money because now they get more funding. So of course they're going to support Trump. They're not going to support somebody like me who says do away with the border completely. And that would solve a lot of problems and a lot of violence as well, because it doesn't stop anybody from coming here anyways. And as far as people coming here, that's another problem. People come here all the time, but no one really leaves here. We need to start exporting some of our American people to other countries as well. But anyways, back to the cyber warfare. Well, in this day and age, as long as you have all these different countries, such as North Korea, that is really horrendously torturing people, and we supposedly help countries, and we went into Iraq supposedly because Hussein was torturing his people and killing them. Well, why aren't we in the Congo? Why aren't we in North Korea? And I think that's self-explained. We need to start working together. The UN, NATO, they're great ideas, but those countries really need to just lock down and do away with all countries. One universal law around the world, basic laws. You violate them, we, the people from around the world, will come after you. That's the only way. There's really no way, as long as there's places like North Korea, Iran, that we're ever going to stop cyber warfare, because there's no magical solution. It'll never happen. And the Iran, deal that she made, that's insane. That's stupid. Why would you make a deal with a tyrant? I thought we don't negotiate. But, well, we know what happened there. Trump did have a good point there. A little over $1 billion. But anyways, moving on, because there's really no answer to how do you stop cyber warfare, because when a teenager with a laptop can hack into the Pentagon, you can't stop it. Especially if you have a whole country behind you, you can't. But how would you prevent homegrown terrorists by people getting to know people? No one knows their neighbors anymore. I mean, there's so many people out there that live in the same house for 10 years, don't even know the names of the people that live on either side of them, in front of them, or share a backyard with them. They live on the other side of the street. We got to get to start knowing our neighbors. Quit being so afraid. I'm going to give you an analogy. In the Bible it talks about, don't build your house upon the sand, build it upon the rock. Well, we're doing the same thing with our people we use that sand now to build our homes with brick, and we use mortar in between each stone. And, a little earthquake crumbles them. Over time, they start to crumble. The ground shifts a little, they crumble. And that's what we are doing, is we're allowing them to divide us. Instead of with mortar, they're dividing us with color, economic status, religion, and all these different things that they're using to keep us divided. When if you want to look at some of the oldest structures on the planet, like the pyramids, for example, they're airproof, watertight, and they have withstood all kinds of stuff. Ground shifting, floods, earthquakes, you name it. Been there for thousands of years. And they used no mortar of any kind. So the only way that you're going to ever prevent homegrown terrorists, and you can't prevent it all, it's still going to happen, is one, stop people from wanting to be a lone wolf. And what I mean by that is there's so much hatred, so much poverty, so much judgment around the world that we're creating them ourselves. It's not just one person. It's not just one country. It's we the people that are allowing this to happen to us. The next question another thing is they talked about the terrorists getting their hands on nuclear weapons, and how that, Russia has been increasing in their technology and nuclear weapons, and we're not. Well, my answer to that is why would we have everything that somebody needs to destroy us all on this planet? I say that the only way that you can guarantee that no one can get their hands on nuclear weapons to do horrible things is to get rid of them all. I don't think any country, no country, should have a single nuclear weapon. In fact, I think we need to start putting them in space. And what I mean by that is I believe that we need to start making a grid in all directions and stair-stepping them out. So that way when or if something is coming our direction, we have time to do something before it's too late. And I'll go more into that a lot later. NASA can answer those questions that what I'm referring to. Vladimir Putin, he's actually threatened Obama that if he doesn't tell the American people the truth about aliens, he will. But then that's when we decided to lift the sanctions on Russia, and he never did. Now, the next question is, will you support the outcome of the election? Yes, of course I will. You know, I didn't like the last election or the one before that either. But I accepted it. Well, you know, I only have, one question is, most people out there don't like either one. Most people out there are either, hell no, I ain't voting for Trump. I really don't like Hillary, but she's way better than Trump. And then the other majority of the people, on the other hand, are, hell no, I ain't voting for Hillary. I don't really like Trump, but he's better than Hillary. So I'm going to end this video with one question for you, the American people. Evil is evil, correct? Yes. So why settle for the lesser evil? Till the next video, you can support this campaign, or you can continue to do nothing except for be watching this hand while they're doing things with this hand behind your back. And then it's only after they've done it that you can complain about it.